Hi students, good morning. Now we are going to prepare in equivalent production next type, that is when there is only closing work in progress with the normal and abnormal loss in the process. Okay, if they given abnormal and abnormal loss in the process, how you are going to prepare the process of it. Okay, let's take exercise sum number 49. Okay, in previous video we prepared without losses in the process. Okay, now we are going to prepare with the normal loss and abnormal losses in the process. Okay, let's see the question. During the January 1991, 1000 units of a cost rupees 6000 rupees were introduced in process 1, which means January 1, 1991 they introduced input 1000 units. They spent 6000 rupees, okay, in process 1. Then there was no work in progress at the beginning. Okay, at the end of the January, 600 units were transferred to the process 2, which means what? At the end of the January, 600 units were transferred to the process 2 means it's a output 600 units. Okay, input 1000 units, output 600 units. 250 units were incomplete, which means a closing working process 250 units, and 150 units had been scrapped, which means actual output 150 units. The normal process loss was 10% of input. So normal loss 10%. We calculated with the input 1000 units. It was estimated that incomplete units had reached the following stages: material 80%, labor 60%, overhead 60%. Direct material introduced was rupees 2700, direct wages rupees 3200, and the production overhead was 1600 rupees. The value of a scrap is rupees 2 each. The unit scrapped had passed through the process and were complete as regards material, labor, and overheads. You are required to prepare this A, B, C, D, E. Prepare the statement of equivalent production, statement of a cost of each element, a statement of apportionment of a process cost, process 1 account, and abnormal loss account. Okay, let's prepare the 5 steps one by one. Okay, what is the first step? We are going to prepare the statement of equivalent production. What is how much column you are going to create? There are 3 columns, that is input unit and output equivalent production column. In equivalent production column, we divided into 3 columns. What are they? 3 elements. 3 elements, that is material, labor, and overheads with percentage and units accordingly. Okay, let's what we are going to start it first. Always started with the input unit introduced. How much unit? 1000 unit they have given in the question. In input column you are going to enter 1000 units. Okay, then come to output column. Okay, in output column, how much output they have given at the end of the January? They completed and transferred to the next process to 600 units. That is called output unit. How much? In 600 units. If the 600 unit output is completed, it will be completion, degrees of completion, 100% degrees of completion in material, labor, and overhead. So that output 600 units is enter material 100%, 600 units, and labor for 100% work done 600 units, and overheads we have 100% output completed in overhead, work done for 600 units entered. Okay, whenever they have given the output units, it will be the same unit you are going to enter in each element and 100% in the percentage column. Are you clear? Okay, let's come to normal loss. Normal loss, how much percentage they have given? 10%. 10% into 1000 rupees, 1000 units you got 100 units. Okay, then so you enter the 10% normal loss in unit column, 100 units. There is no value in each elements. In the equivalent production, in equivalent production, the normal loss is 0 value. Okay, there is no value for equivalent production for normal loss. Got it? Okay, so you put dash 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 or nil. Okay, in equivalent production there is no any calculation for normal loss in the equivalent production. Are you clear? Let's come to the abnormal loss. Abnormal loss they have given in the question? No, they didn't given. They have given, and we need to find out abnormal loss unit. Listen, what is a normal loss unit? 100 units. We calculated with the input units with the 10%, you got 100 units normal loss. They have given actual output 150. So 150 minus 100 normal loss, actual output 150, normal loss 100, you got 50 units, that is called abnormal loss. Okay, so listen, abnormal loss you have has the 100% degrees of completion, 100% work done for normal loss. So in equivalent production for the each element you are going to enter 100% and full units. Okay, so abnormal loss you always enter 100% for material and the same 50 units in units column, 100% and 50 units. That means 100% work done for the normal loss. So in equivalent production you always give the value for 100% degrees of comparison completion in each element. Okay, 50 50 50 units and 100 percentage in the percentage column. Got it? Let's come to closing work in progress. Closing work in progress, how much they have given? 250 units closing. At the end of the January we have 250 units for incomplete units. Okay, that is called closing work in progress, 250 units. What is the current degrees of completion they have given? For material 80% and labor and overhead 60%. Okay, that is the current value of degrees of completion. Okay, so you have taken that 80%, 60%, 60% for equivalent production, which means closing work in progress. So 250 into 80%, you got 200 units for material, 250 into 60% for labor and overheads, 150 units. Okay, so whenever you calculated the closing work in progress in equivalent production, you have take current completion, current degrees of completion percentage. Okay, what they given in the question, you have calculated with the closing work in progress for each element. Okay, now we are going to find out the total for equivalent production. In input unit column we have the 1000 units. In output unit column 600 plus 100 plus 50 plus 250, you got 1000 units. In material, equivalent production in material 600 plus 50 plus 200, you got 850. Labor and overhead we have the same value because it's called as conversion cost. So 600 plus 50 plus 150, you got 800 units in both labor and overheads. Okay, so now we prepared statement of equivalent production. Okay, now we are going to prepare the statement of cost. Step B. Okay, statement of cost we have what I said. What is meant by statement of cost? Statement of cost is nothing but we need to calculate in equivalent production for each element with the cost per unit what they given in the question. For each element we divided in both the elements, you will get the cost per unit for the equivalent production. Okay, so accordingly we have create the 4 columns. What are the elements of cost? Cost A, that means each element's cost what they given the question we have entered here, and the equivalent production unit what now we find out in step A, the statement of equivalent production, material, labor and overhead we entered in third column, and it will be divided both the column A and B. You will get that cost per unit for the equivalent production for each element. Okay, accordingly material we have 2700. We listen here carefully. If you have the normal loss in the question, that material cost will be deducted from the normal cost unit. Okay, then only you will be divided with the equivalent production unit. So material cost what they given in the question 2700. How much normal loss? We have the scrap value. Normal, we didn't take we don't take the normal loss unit. We have to take the scrap value for the normal loss, because we entered the material cost. Okay, so the material cost 2700, it will be subtracted from the scrap value of the normal loss. What is the scrap value they have given? 2 rupees. So 2 rupees into normal loss unit is 100. You got 200 units. Okay, it's 200 rupees. Okay, that 200 rupees scrap value of a normal loss will be deducted from the 2700 material cost. You got 2500 rupees. Okay, so let's take the equivalent production unit for the material. How much? 850. Okay, now it will be divided. 2500 divided by 350, 850, you got 10 rupees. Right? Then come to labor. Labor cost 3200, and the equivalent production of the labor cost is 800. After divided, you got 4 rupees. Cost per unit for the equivalent production unit is 4 rupees. And the overheads 1600 rupees. And the unit, how much unit overhead we have in equivalent production? 800 units. And the cost divided by units, equivalent production unit for the overhead, you got 2 rupees. The cost per unit for the equivalent production for overheads, you got 2 rupees. Then find out the total cost per unit. 10 plus 4 plus 2, you got 16 rupees. Cost per unit for the total equivalent production is 16 rupees for total elements of cost. Okay, let's find out the statement of apportionment of cost. Okay, what is meant by the statement of apportionment of cost? It nothing but the statement of apportionment of cost is nothing but it serves as a systematic, fair and proportional allocation of cost based on floor space, employees count or machine hours, etc. Its main purpose is to ensure that every department or product based on the equivalent or equitable share or shared expenses. So it ensures that the each expenses is divided equally, shared equally, all the expenses are shared equally. So for that we prepare the statement of apportionment of cost. Okay, so it has totally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. Okay, first column particulars and the elements of cost. You know what they given in the question, the elements of cost, material, labor and overheads. We calculated with the completed units, abnormal loss and closing work in progress. Okay, so what are the calculation we are going to do? We are going to done here. Completed cost, that means output unit 600 units, and abnormal loss how much unit? 50 units, and we are going to calculate it with the closing working process 250 units. Okay, right? With the elements of what are the 3 elements? Material, labor and overheads. Okay, with the equal production units. Okay, so equal production units for the material, completed units and equivalent production units for the abnormal loss, and equivalent production unit taken from the closing work in progress with the cost per statement B. Okay, for material 10 rupees and for labor 4 rupees and for overhead 2 rupees multiplied, you will got the cost. Then find out the total for these 3 elements. Okay, accordingly let's take the completed unit, the first statement you are going to enter here, that is a completed units. What is the output? The complete, we can call it as the completed units and transfer into the next process, or shortly we call it as the output. Okay, what is the output? We have 600 units. In 600 units, what is the elements? 3 elements, material, labor and overhead for the equal production units. Okay, so the completed units, that means 100% decrease of completion, right? For material, labor and overhead. So how much unit for the completed 600 units for material 600, labor 600, overhead 600 taken from the equivalent production and enter here. Then it will be multiplied for each cost of production for the equivalent production unit, that is 10 rupees for material, 4 rupees for labor and 2 rupees for overheads. After multiplied 600 into 10, 6,000 rupees, 600 into 4, 2,400 rupees. What is the cost? 600 plus 2 rupees, you got 1,200. The total cost is 9,600. What is the value of a completed unit? 600 unit. What is the 600? What is the value for the output is 600 units? The value of the output is 600 unit is 9,600. Let's take closing work in progress. How much unit? 250 unit. Okay. So let's find out the material, labor and overheads taken from the equivalent production. What is the closing work in progress? 80%. For material 200, enter here. For labor 150, overheads 150. Accordingly, how much cost per unit for each element? 10 rupees, 4 rupees, 2 rupees, 10 rupees, 4 rupees, 2 rupees. After multiply 200 plus 10, 200 multiplied with 10 rupees, you got 2000. 150 multiplied with 4 rupees, you got 600. 150 multiplied with 2, you got 800. The total value for closing work in progress 250 units is 2,900 rupees. Got it? Let's come to abnormal loss. How much unit for abnormal loss? 50 units. Okay, that abnormal loss is calculated in the equivalent unit in the same 100% degrees of completion in equivalent production, right? In equivalent production unit, the abnormal loss is calculated for material, labor and overheads for 100% degrees of completion. So 100% for 50, 50, 50 units. Accordingly, you are going to enter here abnormal loss 50 units in particular column. In elements of cost, material, labor, overhead, equivalent production, how much? 100% we calculated the degrees of completion, right, percentage, right? That is, so for that you have entered for material 50, labor 50 and overhead 50 units. Okay, what is the cost per unit for each elements? For material 10 rupees and for labor 4 rupees and overheads for 2 rupees. After multiply 50 into 10, you got 500. 50 into 4, you got 200. 50 into 2, after multiply, you got 100 rupees. What is the total cost for the 50 units of abnormal loss? The value is 800 units. Okay. Now we prepared the statement of apportionment of cost. Okay. Now we are going to prepare the process account. It's a very simple account. You already well know very well. Let's prepare the cost process one account. What they asked in the question. There are two sides, debtor and creditor side, particular units and rupees on both the side entered. On debtor side, we always enter the input unit. Okay, then material, labor and overheads, what they given in the cost, we have entered the total input is 1,000 rupees and the total cost of the debtor side is 13,500 rupees. Then come to the creditor side. What is the output completed and transferred to the next process? How much output? 600 units output. Okay, how much value? What is the value for that 600 rupees we found in step C? That is 9,600 we entered into the rupees column. Let's come to next one, that is a normal loss we have taken from here 100 units. Okay, how much cost? What is the scrap value for the 100 units normal loss? The scrap value for each unit they have given 2 rupees. Okay, so each unit 2 rupees means 100 units, 2 into 100 you will get 200 rupees. Okay, the scrap value for the normal loss is 200 rupees. Then come to the closing work in progress. How much unit? 250 units. So the what is the value for the closing work in progress? 250 units. The value for the total closing work in progress is 2,900 rupees entered here. Then come to abnormal loss. How much abnormal loss we have? For 50 units abnormal loss. Okay, how much they spend for the abnormal loss? That is, the abnormal loss is 800. Value of the abnormal loss is 800 rupees. The total value of the abnormal loss for 3 elements they spent 800 rupees, so it will be entered into the abnormal loss in rupees column. After added in unit column, we have 1600 plus 100 plus 250 plus 50, 1000 units, and the rupees column 9600, 200 plus 2900 plus 800, you will get 13,500 rupees. Okay, let's come to the last step, that is abnormal loss account. How can you prepare the abnormal loss? It's very, very simple. Where is abnormal loss? Is up here in process 1 account. Okay, so that abnormal loss value fully transferred from the process account and enter in the opposite side, that is, so listen, in process 1 account, abnormal loss is shows on creditor side, right? 50 units and 800 rupees. It will be completed, fully transferred, and enter on debtor side to process 1 account, because it's entered in process, it taken from the process 1 account. Okay, so 50 units and 800 rupees. Okay, that process 1, that abnormal loss is sold through scrap value 2 rupees. That 50 units abnormal loss is to be sales through scrap value 2 rupees. So 2 into 50, you got 100 rupees. They received cash through scrap sales. Okay, so you have entered by say a cash account, because they sell that abnormal loss 50 units through scrap scale 2 rupees each, you will get 100 rupees. You received cash 100 rupees through scrap sales at rupees 2. Okay, so remaining balance 700 rupees will be transferred to profit and loss account. So you are going to write by costing P&L account. It will be it is the 700 rupees is the real loss. Okay, so it will be posted or it will be transferred to the profit and loss account on loss side, because it's that 700 rupees is a real loss. Okay, let's find out the total. On debtor side you have 50 units and 800 rupees. Creditor side you have 50 units and 800 units. Okay, 800 rupees. Do you have any doubt? Please comment it in the comment box and do the homework sum I have given here. Sum number 50 and 51. Okay, thank you.